I'm 78 years old, and I didn't think I'd still be here this long. Not because I lived especially hard, but because I spent so much of my life waiting to start living it. Most mornings now are quiet. Too quiet. The house makes small sounds that used to be covered up by people. A clock ticking, pipes knocking, my own breathing, louder than it should be. I sit at the table with a cup of coffee I don't really want. And I think about how many mornings I rushed through just like this one, believing, they were nothing. When you're young, time feels wide, like a field you can cross later. I believed that. I believed I'd get to the important parts eventually. I just needed to finish a few things first. I told myself I was being responsible. That's the word I used. Responsible. I worked. I showed up. I paid the bills. I kept things running. I thought that was the same thing as building a life. I was wrong. In my 20s, I was always in motion. New job, new place, new plan. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't lazy. I did what people said you were supposed to do. I stayed late. I said yes. I kept my head down. I thought effort would naturally turn into meaning if I gave it enough time. There was a woman then. There's almost always a woman in stories like this. She laughed easily, not loudly, easily, like it didn't cost her anything. She wanted ordinary things. Dinners together. Walks without a destination. She talked about children in a soft way, not like a demand. I remember nodding while she spoke, already thinking about what I had to do the next day. I told her, not now. Not yet. Let me get settled. Let me get ahead. Let me get through this busy stretch. She waited longer than she should have. So did I. We didn't fight much. That's something people don't talk about. Sometimes things don't end because they explode. They just thin out. Conversations get shorter. Silences get longer. One day you realize you're alone in the same room, and neither of you knows how to say it out loud. When she left, I told myself, it made sense. Timing was off. Careers mattered. These things happen. I even felt a little proud of how calmly I handled it. That pride didn't age well. My 30s were louder on paper. Promotions, a better address, nicer things.
People congratulated me. I learned how to smile and say thank you without feeling anything behind it. I was always tired, but I wore that tiredness like proof. Proof that I was doing something worthwhile. I kept thinking life would open up once I reached some invisible line. Once I earned enough. Once things stabilized. Once the pressure eased. It never really does. There were birthdays I missed. Calls I returned days later. Dinners I skipped because I was almost done with something that didn't matter anymore even then. I was always almost done. Always almost available. My father got quieter as he got older. I didn't notice at first. He'd talk, and I'd half listen. He'd pause, and I'd fill the space with my own plans. When he died, there were questions I realized I'd never asked. Stories that left with him. I stood at his funeral and felt like a man who had arrived late to his own life. I told myself I'd do better after that. I really meant it. But habits don't break just because you regret them. They keep going, especially when they're rewarded. By my 40s, people depended on me. That felt important, necessary. I liked being needed, even if it kept me away from everything else. I confused obligation with purpose. I didn't see the difference then. There were moments, small ones. Standing in a parking lot after work, watching the sky go dark, hearing laughter from a restaurant and wondering what it would feel like to be inside without checking the time. Feeling a strange ache on Sunday evenings that I couldn't name. I always pushed it down. There was always Monday. I married later than most. A good woman. Patient. Practical. She made a home, not just a house. I thought love was something that would stay on its own once it was established. Like a machine you turn on and leave running. I was wrong about that too. She would talk to me at night, and I'd nod, already drifting. She'd reach for my hand, and I'd tell myself I'd hold it longer next time. There's always a next time until there isn't. We didn't have children. There were reasons. Sensible ones. Health, timing, money. We agreed, or at least, we didn't disagree loudly. Sometimes I wonder if we were both just waiting for the other to insist. She got sick in a quiet way, no dramatic moment, just a series of appointments. New words. Longer pauses in conversation. I remember sitting in a doctor's office, staring at a poster on the wall, thinking about emails I hadn't answered. When she died, the house changed shape. Rooms felt larger. Sounds traveled farther. I kept expecting to hear her moving around, and every time I didn't, it felt like a small failure on my part. Grief is strange. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just realizing there's no one to tell something to, no witness to your day. After that, time sped up. Or maybe I finally noticed it moving. Years started stacking without distinction. Retirements, funerals, fewer phone calls. I became careful without meaning to. Careful with my steps. Careful with my words. Careful not to expect too much. The biggest mistake wasn't working hard. It wasn't wanting stability. It wasn't trying to do things right. The mistake was believing that life would wait until I was finished preparing for it. I kept postponing the parts that couldn't be postponed. Presence, attention, saying what I felt when it mattered. Choosing people over momentum. I thought delay was neutral, that it didn't cost anything. But it does. It costs quietly, over years, until one day, the bill is due, and there's no one left to share it with. There are people I could call now, I suppose, old names in an old address book, but time changes how calls are received. At this age, every reach feels like an interruption. I don't want to be a reminder of years gone by for someone else, so I sit, I remember. I replay moments that seemed small when they happened. A conversation cut short. A hug declined. A choice to stay late instead of going home. I don't beat myself up the way younger people imagine old men do. There's no energy for that. Just clarity. Clear enough to hurt. Not enough to fix anything. If you're listening to this, I won't tell you what to do. Life doesn't work that way. You'll make your own sensible choices. You'll have good reasons. You'll think you're being smart. Just understand that time doesn't argue with your reasons. It just keeps moving. People don't wait forever, neither do chances. Neither do versions of yourself that are capable of certain things. I thought I had more time to become the man I meant to be. Turns out I was already becoming someone else. Now in the quiet, I live with him. If this meant something to you, sit with it for a moment. That's all.